Hello, everybody. Welcome back to 10 Man Collections. And today I'll be reading a story out of this Bigfoot Terror Tales Vol.1. And the story is called Frame 353 by Francesco Collia. Oh, wait, I'm butchering his name, but anyway. Here we go. All Brett Green knew was that the shot was going to be brilliant. He could see the action unfold as an overlay on the storyboard he had been mentally assembling for years. The park's landscape had changed in the 4 decades since the original had been staged, but there was nothing so major that he couldn't Photoshop up in post. He tweaked the color, tack on the branch or two, and he'd have it. It was the actor that he needed to catch live, that authentic movement that still couldn't be replicated by a program, at least not one in his budget. Roger Patterson, the original's Auteur, I don't know what that word is anyway, was a huckster and a hack, but he knew the same truth, knew the only thing that mattered was momentary believability, the shot. Breck watched his own version in the LCD screen and wondered how much inflation there had been in the Bigfoot costume market since 1967. The shot. It was what he was hoping would alleviate some of the guilt that came with all of Dev's money. He knew that the guilt was all his, that Dev would continue to write checks as long as he asked, but he needed something to show himself he had been asking for a purpose. The rest of the film was going to be lucky to be halfway coherent. He had written the script around the shot, the recreation of the fascination that locked onto him the first time he saw the infamous Patterson-Gimlin footage on one of those supernatural TV Skulllock Fest when he was 8. I know there's a lot of people out there trying to replicate that Patterson-Gimlin film, but I said it's not a costume, okay, even though people think it is. Now he waited. Here he was, weeks of rehearsal and deft study and drills to get it just right, to get every step and arm swing just the way it was supposed to be, to nail that magical 350-second frame of the original film. Somebody's obsessive, but anyway. The head turn, that was it, the money shot. The haunting glance of the acknowledgement of knowing that told the viewer, especially one young enough to still keep a nightlight in reserve, that the world was not the place you thought it was. Breck had grown up, of course, and grown out of his guiltability, but had never escaped that look, the power of which he had been seeking as an artist ever since. And now here it was, the moment of truth. He held his breath as the big lug got it. One take. Exhale. He thought, let it run. And cut. Bring it in. Breck yelled, his hands jittering as his success sunk in. He held the camera, not wanting to check, not wanting to know just yet if his initial excitement was unfounded, skewed by the rush. He looked up at Dev's Jeep pulled up beside his car. Maybe he'll let his producer and best friend do the honors. Maybe he'll have to. His star came lumbering up from behind. How did I do? He was a big kid. Crossley Barnes, a Junko-powered Ford Dev found through an online ad. Kid said he wanted to break into movies if he couldn't make a go in the NBA. Who's your favorite actor? Asked Breck. Crossley pulled the mask up to rest of his forehead. That guy from Avatar. You were as good as that guy, said Breck. At least that wasn't a lie. Dev came up with the same gilly smile he had since they started production on the project. Everyone, it seemed, was just waiting to go Hollywood. Did I miss it? I didn't, said Breck. Seriously, you got it. How does it look? Breck handed him the camera. You tell me. Damn, said Crossley, excuse me. Breck followed the big guy's eyes and said the same thing. on her way from the Jeep was one of those stunning girls you just didn't see out in the wild. One of those girls you only saw in the movies. Right, said Dev. Guys, this is Taylor. She tossed her long brown hair over one shoulder and extended a hand. Breck shook it, and if he had to, could have told you the exact distance in centimeters between the buttons running down her tight white shirt. Okay, you stalker, but anyway. I'll be like, hello, Dolly, but anyway. I never played a zookeeper before, said Taylor. Cryptozoologist, said Dev, who, despite his geek leanings, was acting the coolest of the three guys. Crosley still hadn't gotten past his own state. Taylor blushed, which only made matters worse. I knew I was going to mess that up. Dev had taken a step back and fired up the camera. Breck did his best to compose himself. What have you played before? He asked in a bit of a mumble. In movies? What movies have you been in? Taylor moved closer, only a few, waiting for my break. You know, so far I've been a nurse. That was my last project. I've been a school teacher and a schoolgirl. I got to keep the outfit from that one. Damn, Crossley repeated. You can go ahead and keep the outfit from this one, too, said Breck. Taylor giggled and touched his shoulder. These are my own clothes, silly. Breck removed his cap and ran his finger along the drenched inner band. Dude, said Dev, you see this? No, said Breck. You didn't see this yet? Still no. You should see this. It was what Breck had feared. He had met Dev at college and knew right away that he was a good guy and a loyal guy. He also knew it would only be a matter of time before he took advantage of that. Not maliciously, but simply in inevitability. Dev was kind and lonely, and his family had money. It was almost entrapment. How bad is it? Asked Breck. The money was one thing, but what ate at him more was the thought of disappointing the one person who had believed in him. He had been selling Dev on this shop for as long as he knew him, and he knew if he had failed now, after all the prep and practice, he was never going to get it right. Crosley, did you see anything out there? Asked Dev. What do you mean? He means this, said Breck, handing the camera to the basketball player. What is that? Asked Crosley. The frame had been paused. Off to his right as he walked out of frame was a large brown spot that became a figure when he hit play. It moved toward him and then vanished back into the brush. Dev and Breck looked at each other and they both tried to laugh it off. Come on now, said Dev. We both can't be idiots at the same time. Well, whose turn is it? It's my shadow, said Crossley. That's not how shadows work, said Breck. It's a bear then. Maybe, said Dev. Possibly. It's something. We should go check it out. I'll give you a hint. It's probably a Bigfoot that saw him in a costume and think there was another Bigfoot out. Bear or shadow my foot. Check out to see if it's a bear, asked Taylor. Oh no. It's probably just a hiker who saw this thing lumbering through the woods, said Dev. Crossley grinned at the thought of nailing his rod. Then, why did you say bear? No one starts with bear, said Taylor. Listen, said Breck, I'm going to film it so you have to come. You're the scientist. This could be a breakthrough. It was going to be in the movie. Why wasn't it in the script? It's improv, guerrilla filmmaking, said Breck. No offensive big guy. Huh? Said Crossley. Forget it, Bagley. Let's go. Dev motioned for Breck to hang back as Taylor followed Crossley to the new location. What's up? Asked Breck. Should we have what's his name come along? Who? Dev gestured to Breck's car. Lucius Red Wolf. Breck laughed. That was the name he had given him. Dev left and returned with a middle-aged man in a fringed vest and moccasins. He was their Indian guide, the character lifted from the Patterson-Gimlin's planned pseudo-documentary about tracking Sasquatch. The idea framed Breck's script. Thought he ditched the cowboys and miner for Taylor's breast. Hey, Miguel, said Breck. You doing okay? Yeah, man. It's in my scene. Change of plans. We're going to shoot a little something over there while we still have the light. Oh, good. I already got paid. His pay was a per diem bag of grass. Not exactly scale, but he wasn't exactly Union. He wasn't even Native American, and the filmmakers had joked Dev should have played the part since he was at least a real Indian. His parents were from Delhi. He was from San Bernardino. Well, before I go on, really, I would not pay attention to the girl's breast. I'll be more focused on the face, okay? That there was a love scene. And anyway, all right. So, what are we filming? Asked Crossley. It was a good question considering they were all standing around at a particular unremarkable patch of shrubland. This is where we saw what we saw, right? Everyone nodded in the more or less certainly. So now we film us searching for what we saw. He paused and then pulled down Crossley's mask. We film you searching for it. Very meta, said Dev. And this fits in the story, asked Taylor. This is the story, said Breck. It's all the story. Don't you see? Oh, sure, of course, said Taylor. What do I do? Nothing yet, but you will. Let's just get this down. I got ideas spinning all over the place. Ready? Crossley shrugged. Just what? Go on there. He pointed at the thicket. All the way I wanted to disappear into it. What if I find that hiker and you can't see me? Give us a shout and we'll swoop in. It'll be like a horror nature doc. No, this is good. This is going to be good, okay? Action! Crossley fell into character and hacked his way through the bushes of bramble. Then he was gone. And cut, said Breck. He smiled, pleased with his directorial acumen. So now what? Asked Taylor. We wait for him to come back. I could do some waiting, said Miguel, sitting down against a tree. You know, we didn't tell him to come back, said Dev. You just told him to shout if he found someone. Well, I guess he didn't find anyone. Breck waited while no one laughed. What? You think he's not smart enough to come back on his own? I think there's a way around over here, said Dev. Breck thought it through. I'm with you. Taylor took off her shirt. On the way, it tied it around her waist. Her white tank top was tight and thin, and Breck wanted to stop and kick himself for not having his camera on. I'm telling you, there's a bunch of daggone stalkers in this production, I'm telling you. He didn't think now was the right time to ask her to do it again, but he'll make sure to write an appropriate scene later. After following the path into a curved patch of grass snuggled between the trees, Dev said, I'm pretty sure this is where he would have come out. Then where is he? Asked Taylor. Breck wished she would just stick to her lines. There's his mask, said Miguel. Probably took it off to see where he was going and to breathe, said Taylor. Dave, you didn't tell me he was going to be so hot out there. Sorry, said Dave. I thought you would have noticed the weather at some point earlier in the day. I'm going to cut right here and go to part 2, okay? This is sort of long. See you in part 2.